Hey guys, we made it. Week 10. We're going over factor analysis today. Um, I think this week is probably the output is going to be the most overwhelming, but I think it's the easiest to read. Um, and I'm sure you'll find out why in class, but let's get to it. So interpersonal harmony is defined as the extent to which an individual values peaceful and concordant interpersonal relationships. Research has developed 19 items to measure interpersonal harmony, and I guess you've covered 12 of those items already in class. So here's that list of items. We're going to use this data file that I'll upload to Blackboard in a little bit to run a factor analysis. Um, yeah, just make sure you follow along, and you have your outputs handy for when you're explaining the output of the factor loadings, eigenvalues, proportion variance, scree plot, and factor loadings with rotation. So we are going to go over this question first, how many factors you've extracted and why. So we're going to report eigenvalues, proportion, variance, and scree plot. Um, when you guys are copying and pasting your syntax, if you choose to do it that way, I'd highly suggest uh, just rotating your page so that it's in landscape mode, and then make the font Courier, Courier, because it's not going to leave your rows and columns misaligned. Like you'll be able to tell what goes under what, what goes under what item, what goes next to what item, or under whatever factor or component you're looking at. An alternative is to just screenshot and then highlight that way, which I recommend. It's a lot easier, but you do you. All right, let's get to it. So, oops. So we're in RStudio. You're going to need two packages, Psych and GPA rotation. And you guys know the command for that, but I really like to just install it this way. It's a lot easier. So Psych, I already have them installed, but once you've installed them, make sure they're checked here in your library. And then I've named my file lab10 data. So we're going to start, I'm going to run this all at once, but just as you guys are typing this out. So we're working with unrotated um, values right now, eigenvalues. So we're going to do principal components analysis with our lab 10, but my lab 10 data set. We have 19 factors and there's no rotation. And that's why it's named on rotate. We're going to get a summary and we're going to get the loadings. So here are the factor loadings of each item within underneath the component. And here we're looking at this loading summary. And our prerogative is to find eigenvalues that are greater than 1. So these are the loadings, the factor loadings, right? And we can see PC1, PC2, and PC3 all have eigenvalues over 1. And what's really cool is you can look at the proportion variance as well, and it'll tell you what percentage that PC1, for example, is responsible for, um, like the variance. So 36% of the variance in this in these items is due to PC1. So I think that's kind of cool, but so you can see these percentages are a lot smaller. So that's why we're pulling out these three values right here. Oops, my highlighting is everywhere. These, oh my God, these three values. So now we can also look at it a different way as well. To unrotate the values, and then we can plot it. I mean, it's just much easier to use this set of functions right here because if you look at this unrotate $values business, it's extracting them, but you can't really tell where it's coming from, you know, because these are the same numbers that we see up here. Used to, it might be good to just have this just in case, because it actually like puts them in order as well. So it's easier to see. So actually, scratch what I just said. Do this. It'll help you, and it'll tell you if you've missed something or not. And now we're going to plot it. So this is just plotting this unrotate values command that we put up right here, and we can see these first three eigenvalues are greater than 1. So 6.84, 3.79, 1.82. It's the same values that we have right up here. So that was question 1. We've gone over eigenvalues, proportion variance, and the scree plot. Make sure to paste your results and then just highlight what you're talking about. I've pasted this, and then simply 3 factors were extracted because the first 3 components had eigenvalues greater than 1. So that's why you've extracted them specifically. So now we're going to rotate these values, I believe. Yeah, we are. So again, don't be overwhelmed. Similar situation here. We're going to copy and paste this syntax, and we can see I'm just going to go to the Word document because it's a lot easier to look at this there with the highlights. I know you guys have to like zoom in. Well, I can't really zoom in here, so I can zoom in the Word document, and it's probably easier to show you there as well. So this is what came up in the output. And here for each item underneath the factors, we're looking for the highest value, the greatest value, because uh, this item is not very well represented for this component or factor, or this component or factor. But this one, RC3, looks like a good fit, looks like the highest one out of all of these other ones. So just you would highlight right here. So it's the highest loading for each item to see which component is most characteristic of each item, if that makes sense. So this component is characteristic of this item. This component is characteristic of this item. This component is characteristic of this item. So when we're trying to survey people for RC3, whatever RC3 is, we would use this question, H3, HE3, HE3, HE, you know what I mean? And so on and so forth. So, and then same thing here. We have the factor loadings as well. And you can see what the proportion of variance is for each one of the components. So now we have to interpret what we're seeing. We've done the legwork already, most of the legwork already. We did this already. The principal components analysis was conducted with 19 items. The initial eigenvalues indicated that the first 3 factors could be retained, and they explained 36, 20, and 10% of the variance, respectively. So that would be right here. That was the These are the percentages that it's referring to, the proportion of variance. And then we did a principal components factor analysis using Varimax rotations. All the items in this analysis had communalities or primary loadings over 0.6. And then you'll need to make a table to direct the reader to that. So that's referring to these right here. So we found the highest items, the most appropriate factor loadings for each item, right? Going all the way down, and we can see overall the lowest one is 0.62. So we're quite literally just describing what we found. There's no secret recipe to this. And we're going to give an interpretation of it, but you should direct the reader to, and don't just copy and paste this. And I mean, I guess this part makes sense, and this part, go for it. But here is the real bread and butter. Like this is what you need to do in order to be successful in this assignment. Give an interpretation. It's all going to be subjective. Just make sure it's not ridiculously subjective, if that makes sense. And then make sure you create a table with the final solution. So there's a link down here to go ahead and do that. It's not me, it's somebody else. And our benevolent TAs from last year are the ones who hooked us up with this link. So big ups to Rita and Cece. And then these are our, so this is our what our table is going to look like. We have all 19 of our items, and we've rotated our factors, right, for component 1, 2, and 3. So you see this 0.81 up here for HE1 means we're getting that stuff from here. And the reason why we're not focusing on this stuff is because we're looking at RC right now, RC2, RC1, RC3. I'm not sure if, I think it's in chronological order in the output, but that's essentially what we have here. And then your subjective interpretation is going to consist of you interpreting this. So look at all the factors, look at all the components, and what factors are loading onto those components, and then just reason as to why. So for example, we have, as a consequence of maintaining harmony between people, you are able to broaden your view of the world, and so on. HE2, HE3, HE4, HE6, and HE1, 2. What do those items have in common for component? And whatever you think they have in common, that's probably indicative of what the third component is. So that's where the subjectivity of the assignment comes in. And I believe that's it, guys. I will send out links. I'm going to have office hours this week. I know the exam is coming up and everything, so just want to make sure everybody is comfortable with this material. If they need help, if you need help, just please let me know. I will, contrary to popular belief, actually answer emails this weekend, but I will be holding office hours this week, so I'll write in the email what exactly the office hours are, and if your schedule is so tightly jam-packed that that hour isn't going to work for you, just email me and we can figure something out. But thanks, guys. It was a pleasure.